I guess I'll show you some more video. I've been showing you every video about every weekend. I know I'm a little late this weekend, but I had kind of a newsworthy video I did over the weekend that took place of this. So I wanted to show you some of the build. If you'll do me a favor though, watch it all the way through at regular speed. I can tell that the majority of the people are watching this in a faster speed. You know, it's a 15-minute video, but my average view duration is like 7 minutes and 30 seconds. If you'll watch it all the way through at regular speed, I really appreciate it. The other thing I would appreciate is if you could give it a thumbs up, leave a little comment that you still like these videos, and then maybe leave a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. Today I'm gonna start hanging insulation. Now, the insulation we bought, I think back in June, maybe July, and it has sat outside underneath a tarp. Now, I have been concerned about this insulation sitting outside in a tarp. I've kept an eye on it. There was a cat that jumped up on it and ripped the tarp. So I patched it up. A few spots got wet. So what I did yesterday was I brought it all in. There was a little bit of wet spot here and there on the paper. The insulation itself was completely dry. And that's what the paper's for. It's a moisture barrier is what it is. So it didn't allow it to get wet. So I brought it in, let it dry, and it did. It dried very well. So I'm going to use staple gun. I don't have an electric stapler. I know somebody's going to say, you should get an electric stapler. It's a lot easier. You know, I'd have to run the generator, and it's just not worth it to me to run the generator for a little bit of power. I don't know what size staples I have, but this I just have laying around. Okay, for those who've never worked with insulation before, first of all, it's fiberglass, so you're going to be breathing that stuff. You might want to put a face mask on. But what you do is there is this little lip of paper right here, and you just put that up against your stud and you staple it in. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some time to seal up the drafts. So yesterday I was telling you, I'm going to caulk the corners, and I can't get the camera back in there, but when these two walls came together, so when this wall came up and met up with this wall right here at the corner, it's hard to show you with all the sunlight. Maybe I can show you over here. But they met up. Well, where they meet up at, no matter how tight you get the screws to pull those two boards in together, there's still daylight coming through. We're gonna have to put corner boards here in the corners so drywall can be put there. So essentially what I gotta do is I gotta put a board right here or right here. It's hard to see with all that sunlight. And that way, when you hang your drywall, you got something to screw into. Like I said, a lot of commenters were very upset that when I built the walls, I didn't put the corner boards in. When 2x4s are $8 a piece, you know, somebody just this morning said, I remember when 2x4s were 99 cents a piece, you know, the stud size. But when they're 8, 10, and in some cases $16 a piece, you really need to watch what you're spending your money on. So I didn't put them in when I built the wall. I told everybody I was going to put them in later. Well, now is later. When we tore this trailer apart, it used to be a mobile home. The floor had pretty good 2x4s still in it. The trailer had been sitting here since 1975, and it was in terrible shape. I mean, just terrible. But the 2x4s in the floor were really good. So what I did was I cut the 2x4 right there, right before it got bad. And I used those 2x4s for our floor. And it turned out fabulous. It worked out great. That left the remainder of the 2x4, the bad 2x4, and Carolyn won't throw anything away. Until the project is done, she won't throw it away. She kept these, and she said, well, if we don't use them for anything else, We can use them for firewood this winter down there on the old Franklin wood stove. We can't use it in this one. I'm glad she hung on to them because I'm just going to use these. So I'll just stick it right there. You won't even see the bad spot. And all it's got to do is just hold a piece of drywall, so it's not doing a lot of work. And I got a bunch of these laying around, so take 2, 3, maybe 4 per corner. And even if I don't have enough to do all the corners, it still saves me a lot of 2x4s. Okay, for those that insisted I get those put in, ta-da! They're put in. For those that don't know what I was talking about, so this is the little corner board everybody was so concerned about. So now, imagine this is your drywall. You have something to screw your drywall into right here. So before, you wouldn't have had anything to screw into. Next week, I'm going to try to order the metal roofing material for the roof and the sides of the house, the siding. I got to put a corner board, or whatever you want to call it, right here at this lip here. So here's the rafter or the truss, and it'll come over here. So I got to put a board that comes right there. These little things right here, I'm sure you can see the light coming through. This is underneath the truss. This is where the truss meets up with the house. That will have a breeze. Even though there'll be insulation here, that's gonna have a breeze. And it's gonna drive me nuts. And so I just as well get that sealed up today. Now, the thing about caulk guns is there's a little trick that a lot of people don't know about. But there's a hole right here on I guess on most caulk guns, everyone I've ever seen, has a hole right here. And what you do is you stick the tip of your caulk gun there, you squeeze the trigger, and it cuts the tip. Now inside, there's a seal, so it doesn't come spewing out. There's a little jabby thing right here at the beginning of the caulk gun. You take in there and you just stab that, and now you can see there's caulk on the finger. Okay, so here's the 2x2 up against that rafter I was telling you about. Well, no, this is the wall. Now you should be able to visualize that this is going to come across to here. So my drywall will have something to attach to right here. I can't stress enough how important it is to wear your mask and long sleeves. You can see the dust right now flying around. That's because I picked up a piece of insulation. That stuff gets down in your throat, and man, it just makes you cough and hack and cough and hack. At some point in my life as a child, someone told me never to stuff insulation into the hole. You want to keep it nice and fluffy. Today I'm going to nail down and cut these sheets of plywood for the attic. I've gotten several comments about the wood stove. And a lot of people think that I need to put a dampener in the flue here. About right here, somewhere around here. What a dampener is a little valve inside it. I mean, it's a plate is what it is. And it has a handle out here on the side. I have one on my wood stove down outside, my outdoor wood furnace. I have one. You have a little handle where you turn it, and so when you turn it up, it lets more air go through the chimney, causing a better fire in the firebox. When you turn it down, it slows down the airflow. And back in the day, those were very important because wood stoves allowed all the oxygen to go right into the wood stove. So imagine if you had this door open and you put fire in there and you try to light it and there's no escape for the smoke. So you shut the dampener, well, the fire is going to die down. Well, when you open it up, then the fire gets bigger and bigger. Well, in today's wood stoves, that's not a true statement anymore. Dampeners don't control anything. This does. This controls the airflow. These new wood stoves are regulated by the government now. And it says that in the instructions that if you tamper, the end user tampers with the airflow of the wood stove, it's a federal offense. It's right here in the instructions. Well, this guy comes in yesterday and tells me that I'm very smug to the commenters and that I need to start listening to their expert advice. But since I don't, he's looking forward to my building to sag and I won't be able to open the windows and things are going to start falling down and breaking and the windows are going to break. And so he's looking forward to my building being a complete failure. But he says, in this one case, I need to start listening to the experts, put a dampener in there, because he's not going to allow my house to burn down and ruin his enjoyment of my house falling down. He wants to see the house fall down, not burn down. So he says he's going to buy me a dampener and I better install it. The attic box, this is where the chimney comes up and out through the roof. This keeps insulation and any debris from falling onto the chimney itself. All right, so today I'm going to install the rest of the insulation. I only got a couple more spots that I got to do here. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to make a little hatch door out of 2x4s, put the insulation in the hatch. So I got one of the boxes completed. Now I'm temporarily going to put screws in it to hold it up there. I eventually will get these little locks that you can slide, the slide locks type things. I'll get those, but the hardware store is closed today. All right, so once I get some drywall put on top of that, then I can just unlatch it, drop it down, or put it up. In the summertime, you know, we're going to run ventilation through there. I can just take it down and I can take it to a different location. I can hide it behind the stove, you know, whatever. So these 1x4s, I'm going to spread out every 2 feet all the way to the peak. Then, well, of course, then I got to put my trim on. But once I get my trim on, then I can lay the panel down on these 1x4s and screw the panel right into this 1x4. That'll give it a lot of strength. Okay, took me a practice run. I had to do it over. Fortunately, with this particular piece of trim, I got plenty where I can make a mistake, but it was only an 1.5 inch mistake. So I cut off my mistake, tried again, and this time I was able to wrap it. Everybody is an expert, and they give you their resume. I had some guy give me a resume the other day on something, and there's no way they are right. It's just incredible how people want to talk about something they really don't know what to talk about. When I built this, I was clear. I didn't know how to build tiny houses, and I had to research everything. What was interesting to me is as I'm researching and I'm learning, I've got people telling me incorrect ways of doing things. But it's holding up just fine. It's absolutely amazing that I was able to do this by myself. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a playlist of the tiny house build. I think there's like 150 videos. So if I can inspire you to build your dreams. Thanks for watching.